Enzo Maresca doesn't believe Chelsea's squad is good enough to compete in both the Premier League and the Champions League. Let's get into it.
The last home game of the season, this club have not defensive about it.
Yes, people, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. First things first, guys, make sure you smash up the like, subscribe if you're new around here, all of that good stuff. And as always, get your thoughts in the comments. And in today's video, we're going to be discussing Enzo Maresca and the Chelsea squad, because reports are coming out saying that those close to Maresca say that he simply does not believe that the current squad is good enough to compete for both the Premier League and the Champions League. This is a report from Rahman Osman, a very, very good journalist, reliable with a lot of things. And he's basically saying what we kind of all knew. Those close to Maresca say he genuinely believes this squad simply isn't good enough to compete in both the Premier League and the Champions League this season. This is not rocket science. This is not a surprise. Everybody, bar the people that put the squad together, can see that this squad isn't good enough to compete on both fronts. We've already seen after one round of Champions League games that the rotation options, they're not really good enough. We're going to struggle to rotate. We can't make changes in the Premier League, win a game against Brentford, and then, go and win a game in the Champions League. This is a big, big issue, a big problem, and one that we should have had the foresight of seeing. How can the people that put this squad together not have foreseen that this was not good enough? It isn't good enough. And let's be brutally honest, it's nowhere near good enough. I do not understand how we can, break the bank on players like Enzo Fernandez, on players like Moises Caicedo. And then we can't do the same for a goalkeeper. We can't do the same for a top centre-back. But then we spend 50 odd million quid on a player who sits on the bench for Borussia Dortmund. I just don't get it. I'm absolutely baffled by the situation. I really am. And I shouldn't really be baffled. This shouldn't be a surprise, but it kind of is. I've got no issue with Maresca saying any of this or thinking this, because we all think it. It's frustrating. It's so predictable as well. We knew we would struggle with injuries. We knew we'd struggle with fitness after the Club World Cup. The directors didn't provide the gaffer with the players that he needed to do his job. You add in the 2 red cards that you've got, suspensions and whatnot. A different manager doesn't change anything. A different manager doesn't change anything. You just look at it and you just think, all right, yeah, managers know when they come to Chelsea, you're going to be a quote unquote yes man. You're going to be, work with what you're given. However, when you come in and you taste success, like we did last season when we won 2 trophies, that yes man tag, you want to push on and you want to have more. You're not going to revert to type and accept less. Once you've got that taste of winning, you want more and more and more, and you want to push forward, drive forward, and demand more from everyone around you. The article states as well that sources say Maresca has been unhappy that his request for a ready-made replacement for Levi Colwill was brushed aside. That is proving to be one of the most criminal decisions of the entire summer window. Absolutely disgraceful from the directors, from the board, not to bring another centre-back in. You say you're backing this manager, you say you trust this manager, you don't give this manager something that he asked for, something that he felt was a necessity, and within 5 weeks, you've seen clear as day us be exposed in the very position you refused to strengthen despite the manager's public pleas. What are the 2 areas we've had the most problems at? Goalkeeper and centre-half. The 2 areas they refuse to address. Make of that what you will. We heavily invested. Again, it's mental. Made loads of investment. Yeah, we coped well last season playing twice a week. We played Thursday, Sunday. But it looks like they completely missed the bigger picture here, that we are playing Champions League, which is a top-level competition. It takes no prisoners compared to the Conference League. The way that we recruited this summer feels like that we were preparing for another season in the Conference League, not preparing for a season in the Champions League. This squad's fine. You can compete Conference League, you can compete Europa League. You cannot compete in the Champions League and the Premier League with the caliber of squad that we've got. It's very, very simple. You have to be at your absolute best to win in the Champions League. Maresca knows what winning looks like. Maresca knows what he needs in a winning squad, and he knows that he wasn't given it in the summer. He knows the difference between having just depth and having actual quality in depth. You know, when we rotate the first team, the drop-off in quality is huge. How can we be sitting here with saying that the drop-off in quality is huge with the number of players that we've signed, with the amount of players that have come in, and with the money that we've spent? And yet, other than João Pedro, Esteban, I think, will turn out to be very good. But other than Pedro, who's come in, no one else has improved the first team. No one else has improved that first 11. You know, the drop-off's alarming. And at the highest level, that drop-off and those rotation options, those are the difference between you winning and losing. Those are the difference between you drawing and losing, you know. And yes, of course, we all know that any manager that comes in, as I said, you know, you work with what you're given and whatnot. And yes, peak managers accept those terms initially, and then you experience the reality, and then you become frustrated with it, and then you get annoyed by it, and then you have enough of it. You know, you have enough of it. However, the tools he's got, or the tools that he's been given, have been downgraded. You know, let's use an example. You know, he's gone from having a sledgehammer to a little hammer you get out of a toolbox. That's what we're talking here when we're using Haytos, Achimpongs, and whatnot at centre backs instead of a Colwell, instead of a Fofana. You know, these are the issues that we're suffering with here. Something has to give. Yeah, we'll have a good run in the league at some point. We might have a good run in Europe. We might have a good run in the Cups. But we won't have a good run in both. We won't be competitive in both. Chelsea didn't back him. And I want to make this very, very clear when I say this. I'm not saying that the manager wasn't backed in terms of money spent, because he absolutely was. But a manager wasn't backed in terms of being given what he needed to drive this team forward. Backing the manager would have been signing a goalkeeper, signing a centre-back, and signing a top-quality striker. That would have been backing the manager. We did not back the manager. Yes, we gave him finances. Yes, we brought players in. We did not back the manager because we did not give him what he needed to compete and move this team forward after a successful season last season. You know, yes, he's got to get more out of this squad. Absolutely, he does. But we've missed a massive opportunity to build on the success of last summer. We missed the opportunity to properly back a manager who looked like he was building something. And that chance may well have passed us by. However, what I would also say is that it's a problem if that's how the manager thinks. Because we could be in trouble if this is how Maresca feels. Because he's the one that has got to instill belief into the team, and he's got to instill belief into the fan base. If we're already thinking this in September, then you could almost say, what chance do we have? He's got to knuckle down now, work hard, get the best out of this group of players. Even if you don't think they're good enough, even if you don't like some of the players you've been given, you need to use them and you need to try and get something out of them. But we all knew this. I just can't for the life of me understand why anyone thought this squad was good enough to compete in the Premier League and the Champions League this season. I don't get it. I really don't get it. And yet we're out here giving out contract extensions to the people that put this squad together. And the only people that cannot see or refuse to acknowledge that this squad simply isn't good enough or anywhere near good enough to compete on Premier League and Champions League on both fronts. We'll have a run in one or the other. We won't do both. And that for the money we've spent, and that for the expectations of the football club, that for the standards at this football club is simply unacceptable. And those that have put the squad together, they need to be held accountable. They must be held accountable. Not enough heat is being put on these guys. It's got to be pressure on them. There is no way the manager should be under more pressure this season than the sporting directors. They shouldn't be getting another chance at anything. They shouldn't be getting another chance at a transfer window. They shouldn't be giving another chance to appoint a new manager if that's the route that happens. They shouldn't be given any of this. It's also predictable, and it was also preventable. But yet, once again, the powers that be simply couldn't see it. And these are the very people that are going to let this football club down and hold this football club back when we should have been building on a successful season, when we should have been building on becoming world champions. Instead, it feels like we've regressed, or at best, we've taken a sideways step. And that's not good enough, because the gap's going to get bigger and we're going to continue to be left behind. And that's unacceptable. But guys, that's my thoughts on it. Let me know your thoughts. Smash up the like, subscribe if you're new around here. Leave your thoughts in the comments and all that. And I'll catch you lot in another one soon. Up the Chelsea, and I'm out. Love.